So, first question with a whopping 9 votes. Come on, folks. I saw the immersion in the immersion chat that the Insider podcast is going away. Can you tell me why? I really enjoyed it.
It's from Anonymous, though.
Yes.
So they didn't enjoy it enough to put their name on the question. Yeah, you know how it is. At the dojo, we do a lot of things. Some things work well, other things don't work as well. And yeah, when push came to shove, it was time to let this one go. And we do. We all loved it. But if you love something, sometimes you have to set it free. The good news is all of that content that's on the insider, and maybe this is one of the inherent problems in the plan. All of that content is already there for all people,
For members, yeah.
all premium members, and then even basic members. A lot of that content is all still there in the archives, and none of that's really disappearing. It's just that particular format is going away. Yeah, that was going to be the Insider podcast was something that was designed for thousands of people to enjoy, and instead we got like 107. Something, not really. I don't know what the real number is, but there wasn't enough customers to cost of producing the product. The ratio didn't really reach our goals. I think we did it for maybe 18 months or so. So we gave it the college try, and yep, needs to go away. But the good news is good things will inevitably come in its place, I think. So
Yeah. And then you're still doing some podcasts episodes for the for the
free
standard
podcast is still
podcast.
going, yeah.
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 So it's not all content disappearing, just the insider rediffusions of stuff.
One of the things, Carl, and I think you're right here with me on this one. One of the things that we've learned well, let's call it, for me anyway, 20 years of doing business, is that you want a positive amount of money at the end of each month. It doesn't have to be a lot positive,
but it should be positive.
Yeah. When things come out negative, it's usually an indication you should stop doing that thing. And you can just take all of that, and hopefully that's a good answer to the question there.
Yeah.
But yeah. The other thing that we do well is we're willing to try stuff here at the dojo. So we're like, that seems like an interesting idea. Let's try it. And then I'm really extremely willing to fail.
Yeah. Just like we try to instill upon you guys. It's not an ego question.
Yeah.
We try things, they fail. Oops. Oh, let's move on, readjust, change, pivot. And we got to do the same thing in our own learning, right? We fail more often than we'd like to admit in our learning process. And that's good. That's how we learn.
Yeah. And by the way, just to clarify, so my podcast with Jim is staying.
Yeah.
It's the Insider podcast. It's the paid podcast thing that gets you one re-released class every day. That's what's going away.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. You're willing to fail, and that's what makes you successful, says Diana. Yeah, so true. So true.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if you're not ready to fail, don't start a business. It's not for you. And you also should not play bagpipes either. You're not ready to fail a lot. Okay. Next question with 9 votes from Lou. Switching pipes using same chanter. Interesting. Are there factors that might make the spare set of pipes harder to play? Easy Henderson, harder McCallum's. Same drone reads.
Wow.
Easy
Lou,
harder.
Easy answer. There's a leak in one of the bags or the blow stick.
Yeah,
there has to be.
I sometimes wonder, I think I understand what Lou's getting at here, but let's cover the basics first. So any set of pipes, there's always a wide assortment of possible reasons it could feel hard to play, right? And then that is why I use and also religiously teach the 4 questions, right? So the 4 questions are my system for dealing with bagpipes that are hard to play or hard to control or hard to tune, right? It's all related. So just quick review of the 4 questions. First thing, make sure that bag is absolutely wicked airtight. We're going to cork that puppy up and make sure it passes NFL standards for football inflatedness. Okay.
No deflate gate.
Yeah. No deflate gate for the pipes. But to win so many Super Bowls with a leaky pipe bag, respect. Yeah. Okay. And then what else we got? Are the Joints airtight would be next. I'm just, by the way, I remember the 4 questions is not just strict memorization. There's a process. So we start on the inside and we're working our way out. So the next place air might leak would be the joints. The next place air might leak might be the reed seats. Hopefully we came up with that. Right. And then from there, we're probably, from there, that's like the dividing line. And then from there, we're talking about matters of efficiency. But Lou's already got a chanter and a reed that he likes. So the fourth question is going to be, are my drone reeds calibrated properly to that chanter reed? Now that's the secret sauce.
Right.
I sometimes tell people I do that process 6 times in 28 hours when the world championship comes around, right? Like I do that thing 6 times. I do it religiously. Every time I pick up my pipes to play, in some form or another, I'm going through those 4 questions just to make sure my pipes are ready for launch. It's kind of like checking the fuel gauge on your airplane before you take off.
And you maybe tap on it if it's an
Yeah.
old gauge to just make sure it's not stuck on full.
Is this really right? Yeah. So you do all the things because you don't want to crash and burn. So at the Worlds, the first time I do the 4 questions is before I leave the house on the way to the green. Because if there's going to be a problem, I'd way rather freak out and probably start crying and shaking and stuff like that. I'd way rather do that in private. I do that before I leave the house. I blow the drones, not long, like 15, 20 seconds, making sure everything's operating the way I expect. And so that's the first time. And then I'll do it again before we get going for the MSR and again before the medley. And then and then repeat the same thing on Saturday. So there you go. That's the basics. Now, I think what Lou might be getting at here is maybe he's done all that and switching chanters to another set of pipes is still resulting in the second set of pipes feeling really hard. So hopefully Lou's done all these things. And then that begs the question, like, if you switch, it also sounds like he's switching the drone reeds as well to the other bagpipes. Right. So can drone reeds take more or less air depending on the size and shape of the drones? That's a question I don't know the answer to. And maybe it's possible, like maybe there's like backdraft and shapes and physics and all sorts of weird stuff that might be affected by switching drones. So I think the answer to the question, if that's what Lou means, is I don't have the slightest idea.
Yeah. My money is still, and Lou's an experienced piper. Lou, don't take this the wrong way, but my money is still on there being a maintenance difference. There is something in the blow stick, in the joint. Is the chanter hemped tighter in one and then the other? Yeah. My money's on that.
Yep.
You double or triple down on checking the first 3 questions of the 4 questions, because that's what deals with the things that are different between the 2. And I bet you can find something. I bet you. And if not, then that's a real interesting question.
I'm helping Raleigh. He's confused. Okay. There you go, Lou. Good luck with that. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. And then I don't really care. Lou, I care about Lou. I want Lou. I'm wishing Lou all the best. But yeah, like I don't really care. I don't really know the answer. Maybe it could be the drones. Either way, the way you're going to solve the problem for me remains largely the same, which is check and double check and recheck what's probably the issue, which is the maintenance. And then maybe you find you've done everything and just those damn Hendersons. My pipes just feel really hard. And then, yeah, maybe it's affecting how the drone reeds are actually vibrating. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then so we can the 4th question, we'll sort that out. We can recalibrate those drones again. And maybe you find, son of a gun.
You have to recalibrate them. Yeah. Yep. For one of the pipes.
And what you would find, here's what you do, Lou, is perfectly calibrate the drone reeds to the harder set. And then theoretically, they'll all shut off when you go back to the easier set. It could be a good way to collect some information.
Yeah, but that's the cool part about this. You can try this. There's nothing here that you're going to break by trying and exploring and experimenting. And that's the spirit we need to embody when we play bagpipes. We're searching to make them easiest as possible, and we're eliminating things from the foundation up in terms of possible problems. And you're going to find a solution. Or you're going to find a mystery that you can't solve and then move on. Yeah.
I like it. Next question.
In the spirit of Make the Band, why do I have the tunes nailed in practice, but in performance, I play wrong notes. What can I do to prevent that?
It's the
This is
bagpipe
one of
gods,
those
Carol. It's the bagpipe
12
gods.
questions. Yeah.
There's this ritual that goes on in Inverary called the bagpipe gods. It's this thing, it's this speech that Stuart gives before every competition. And he says, just everybody be very cautious this week because the bagpipe gods tend to come out this week and they try to do crazy shit. Language for effect. They try to do crazy shit to your pipes. Pardon my language there, folks. But there's this, it's this thing that Stuart does all the time. And what he's trying to say is, I think, or here's how I translate it as a bagpiping atheist. That was just a little joke. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a bagpipe atheist or not. But as someone who doesn't believe in the bagpipe gods, what he's trying to say is the pressure of the competition tends to infringe on your bandwidth, right? Which makes it more likely that mistakes and issues are going to are going to become overlooked. That's what he's trying to say. That's how I interpret it, right? The morning of the contest, you're going to be nervous. You're going to be shaky. There's a whole bunch of added pressure that you could not simulate during practice, right? It's very difficult to simulate the type of pressure that you feel at some of these events, right? And sometimes you're not even aware of the pressure. Sometimes you're not aware of it till it's too late, et cetera, et cetera. But these are all things, I think of all of these factors as competing for my attention and my bandwidth and my mind. Carol, you might have your tune going perfect in your nice, comfortable, reliable practice room where no one's necessarily really listening. And Andrew says do a one take rule, but come on, we could do a couple takes, right? It's not a big deal if I get 3 or 4 takes in there and everything's good and the temperature's just and the humidity is just so. And there's no pipe majors around you quietly freaking out and trying to pretend that they're not, right? There's none of that. So in your practice room, yeah, the tunes are going pretty good. And then when you get out on the competition field, why am I making wrong notes? There's so much added distraction and things that are competing for your attention. And I think that's why it happens. By the way, all of my preparation for important things, like we can take the worlds again, for example, all of my preparation throughout the year is with the knowledge that getting the tunes off is not going to be good enough, right? It's like I know that now. I've made key mistakes at the least opportune moments at a few times in my career, and I know how awful that is. And yeah, you have to prepare for that. So getting the tunes going, that's step one. And then we have to figure out creative ways that the tunes are going to continue to go well, even when the situation becomes suboptimal. Like it might be pouring rain, Stuart might get cut, and it could be somebody else taking on the band, or Stephen McCorder could drop a stick. I saw that video resurface on the social media this week, and so on. And Carol says, "What do I do to address it?" Good question, Carol. That's a good question. I'll allow that follow-up question. So yeah, we know when the stakes are high, we tend to make mistakes. What do we do to address it, Carl?
We get out there and we make mistakes, number one, and do that as often as you can. Get out there. Hopefully, the more you get out there, though, the less mistakes you will make.
Yeah.
And then we got to be extra prepared at home in the sense that we're not seeing if we can do it right once. It's can I not do it wrong many times? So it might just be a level of preparedness that you haven't reached yet with those tunes. Keep going through the process. Keep working through those tunes. Keep doing the immersion. Keep practicing them, not playing them, practicing them. If you identify an area where you make that mistake regular, like second part, just I tend to make a mistake in performance. Cool. Grab that second part, go back to the rhythm. Work through it bar by bar. Build that back up and do actual, really focused practice on those areas with the goal of better internalizing that. I don't think there's a secret sauce here. It's keep working at it in an intelligent way.
I can tell you what's worked or what I can tell you what definitely doesn't work for me is reps. Reps does not work. So like you might make the assumption that, okay, I just have to play this 60 times in a row. So that'll make it so I don't make a mistake on the day, stuff like that. So that doesn't work. Obviously, we need to do some reps, folks, but that's not the strategy to avoid mistakes. For me, I go hunting. That's what I do. I try and find wascally wabbits. That so when I'm practicing, I'm hunting for wascally wabbits. That's my technique that I use. So like a lot of times you're making a future mistake and it's not a mistake yet, but it will be in the future. Those are the things that you're hunting for. So it's like a feeling that you get when you're playing the tunes. And it's like you get like that uh-oh. You get like an uh-oh feeling. And then you realize like for whatever reason that spot has become a risky spot.
Yeah, you're unsure of something.
Yeah.
You get that feeling. You made it through once, but something wasn't right there.
Yep. And for me, it usually has to do with taking it for granted. It's starting to only exist in my subconscious, the hierarchy of competence we talk about sometimes. And yeah, we want to get stuff to become unconsciously competent, but if you're not able to grab it and bring it back to consciously competent, that that is a risky spot. It's hard. I'm probably not explaining it well, but yeah, it needs to be like think about it. Think about a pilot flying an airplane, right? And then most of the time they're using the autopilot, which is great. But then what happens if the autopilot breaks and then the pilot has forgotten how to do whatever maneuver is going to be required, right? That is where the crash is going to happen, right? So it's when something 99.9% of the time is fine, but then suddenly it breaks. You need to be able to quickly grab your pilot's checklist. You have to be able to quickly find the procedure you need, and you have to be able to still execute that. So for me, things start to drift off. And that's really where mistakes come from for me. Things start to drift off into the land of autopilot only, and I no longer have the conscious material left in my mind. So for me, that's what my practice is. My practice is like anytime I find myself drifting, I try and bring myself back. So it's almost like you're trying to keep yourself conscious.
Yeah, in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I'm practicing the art of being in the moment because I'm going to need that when my nerves are really going crazy. I'm going to need that. Like, where am I right now? Did I
Right.
repeat the part or did I not repeat the part? What's the pickup note to the next part? I got to make sure Lord Alexander Kennedy is the worst. I've played that thousands of times. I feel like I've played it thousands of times at the Worlds. That's of course a lie, but I've played that thousands of times at the Worlds, and it's always a risk that you're going to skip the fourth part, or is it that you're going to skip the third part? I don't remember.
Yeah,
But
you
like,
go right
there's a
for
bad.
it.
So
But
yeah,
it's fascinating. Like just trying to keep yourself in the moment is another great way of saying keep yourself from getting distracted
yeah,
from those other things getting in. It is definitely an element of that. And then, yeah, Dave, I think Andrew did a great job of summarizing exactly what we talked about on Tuesday.
yeah.
You summarized it. You weren't there, Andrew, but
But can you see how reps?
yeah,
Can you see how it, based on the explanation I just gave? Can you see how dangerous
reps
blind
are.
reps can be?
Yeah.
Blind reps can be dangerous because then like you're just further, if you're not careful, you could just further send it off into autopilot only land, which is actually not what we want for these high stakes performances. Is it what we want for low stakes performances? Yeah, maybe. Like I don't want to, if it's a low stake, if I don't need to do this for my St. Patrick's Day parade material. If I make a mistake,
The
nobody cares.
consequences are
Yeah.
nil.
Like, let's face it, your bandmates are already drunk and you're most of the way there. No, I'm just kidding, everybody. That was just for effect. I'm not, we're professionals here. We don't imbibe until the parade is over. So low stakes performances, meh. But that's also part of the problem is how often do you get the chance to test yourself in a truly high stakes environment? Like even in the grade one bands, right? Most people don't actually care that much about the majors, right? So even you think because you've won the first four majors that you're ready for the worlds, right? But it's just not true. The worlds is the worlds. and all of a sudden you're heading to final tuning and your body is doing this and you're just convulsing with pure, like, unadulterated nerves that you did not expect. And then the question is, how good's that performance going to go? Yeah. Bagpipes. Fun.
So, Carol, I don't
By
know
the
if
way,
that
I'm
helps,
shaking
but
right now because it's so cold down here, not because I'm nervous.
I was going to say, you just look nervous about the question. Yeah, Carol, and just translating, when we say high stakes and low stakes, your stakes might feel differently. So that
If I
performance
don't,
that you get out, you get those nerves, that can be high stakes for you. So
exactly. So, for example, the St. Patrick's Day parade, that's just me. You might be, this might be your one shot to make the parade band. And if you screw up at the St. Patrick's Day parade, the pipe majors, it's going to be another 4 years before the pipe major lets you try and play in a parade. Good luck.
so no more reps, Carol. Get back to practicing correctly, fundamentally. And you got this.
It's just a hard thing, right?
It
So
is.
at some point, you will find the current limit of your comfort zone, right? Everybody has that somewhere. And it doesn't matter what you're doing either. There's a limit to your comfort zone. Driving your car is another good example. We're all comfortable driving and we're all comfortable driving in good conditions. And then your comfort level decreases as the weather conditions get worse and worse. And then, depending on who you are, there's a certain limit where it's crap. I really do not want to be driving right now. And that would probably be different depending on your level of experience and your equipment and what you're doing it for, et cetera, et cetera. And then you might need to switch your Tesla out of autopilot although interestingly and ironically, it's probably far safer for Tesla to just drive you in the bad weather than for you to drive. But we digress.
Carol says there's a solo piper at the tattoo whose pipes wouldn't sound on opening night. She thinks he's still living. I don't know, Carol. You might want to check
Yeah.
that.
It's a reason, one of the reasons I'm not a tattoo guy, because how you look is definitively higher stakes than how you sound.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's it's not my jam. Okay, next question.
Yes.
I'll do it. Is there a video of Stuart Little adjusting his drone tuning during a performance of Amazing Grace, which is something I talk about from time to time? And to my knowledge, there would be no video. I'm remembering this. It would have been like the year 2006 or something. Like it was before people just took videos of everything all the time. So no, there's probably not of that specific moment I'm thinking of, but I don't know. Stuart does some wild stuff. So you'll probably see it again.
Yeah.
It's pretty
All
cool.
right.
There's a new video of Stuart that from when he was at the Pocono workshop, just slaying. He's got his old man glasses on, which he does need them. But part of you wonders if it's just part of the bit.
If the bit results in you playing like that, go with it.
Yeah. Good old Stuart. All right. Carol says, in the spirit of make the band. Oh yeah, we already did that one.
Oh, yeah.
Anonymous says, what are some topics or lessons in which the in-person lesson makes more sense for the student? I like this question. Shall I address it?
Go for it.
So we talked a little bit about how in-person lessons are for wimps over the recent weeks. No, there I go again. I'm just kidding. Okay, but yeah. So we've talked a little bit about how the dojo simply cannot be as good as in-person lessons. You do hear that sometimes. And I think there's probably a little bit of truth to that in some respects. But as the person who owns and operates the dojo, I think about this criticism and I say to myself, I'm not actually sure the downsides of dojo you are as severe. And the perfect example I give people when I say this is, let's pretend no matter what you do, you cannot get your pipes in tune. Okay. But let's say you have a private instructor that you're going to see in 9 days. Okay. Compare that to someone who doesn't and who only has access to the dojo, where we can't do a lot of hands-on stuff. Who's going to be more likely to become better at figuring out how to tune their pipes when everything's going wrong?
Yeah.
Is it like, so what are you going to do if you know you have a private lesson in 9 days Are you going to persevere? Are you going to unturn every rock and pebble that you could
I'm going to
possibly
change
think
that
of?
read.
Yeah, are you going to do things? Are you going to dig in with your own bare hands and using your own personal creativity and enforce yourself to learn to solve that problem? Or are you just going to wait 9 days and have your instructor sort it out for you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Meanwhile, a dojo person who doesn't have a private instructor that's going to teach them in 9 days, what are they going to do? They're going to be on their own. They're going to be able to ask around for help. Carl and myself and our other instructors will be able to give them lots of tips, but it's going to be up to them to sort that out. And in the long run, who's going to be better off? It's going to be the person without the private instructor. So my point is not that private instruction is bad. That is 0% my point. Private instruction is good. Everybody at the dojo, if it's available, should be thinking about augmenting their experience with some private instruction because it is an amazing thing for many ways. However, private instruction is not necessarily the holy grail of bagpipe instruction mediums.
Yeah. It has its limitations as much as the dojo does, if
Yeah.
not more. But yeah.
And certainly
Uh,
one-on-one Skype lessons. It's not because that's what a lot of people mean nowadays when they say they get private lessons, is they
right.
sign on Skype with somebody. And the drawbacks of online teaching are primarily that there's no real-time hands-on, although someday there'll be some sort of cool robot that you can install so that someone.
It's no longer here, take control of my mouse on my computer. That was cool for a while. Now it's going to be just grab control of the in-house robot
Yeah.
and manipulate
Oh
somebody
man,
else's
Carl, you're
physical
probably
world.
right. Like the new, by the way, we can say this without MQM here, like the new Elon Musk robot. You could totally do that. You could probably have little goggles, and then you'll just be able to like actually reach over and tune somebody's drone for them, maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, cool. Tony's like,
Someday.
I'm not ready for this. I talked to my instructor about Dojo, says Buddy, and she said over the last year, I gained valuable skills going to these classes. It's also great for immersion when you don't have time. Exactly.
Yeah.
Dojo is good for immersion. Now, what are some of the topics where in person lessons make more sense? Now, I don't know if they make more or less sense, but things that can be particularly better in person include the number one for me is tuning skills.
Mm.
So being in the room with someone is just better. By the way, that is the exact reason and basically single solitary reason that we started doing bagpipe tuning clinics. It's because it's one of the things where I really felt strongly that in person is better than over the internet.
And a lot can be done with that in
Yeah.
a short period of
And you can
time.
move fast. You can move
Yeah.
faster. And tuning is, unfortunately, the faster you can try things and iterate, the better. Tuning is one of the things. Yep. And then the other one that comes to mind for me is high level PBROC instruction. For example, I judge Magnus Stone on a regular basis and sometimes chit chat with him. And my advice to him, he's an extremely high level player. But my advice to him is to find somebody that can teach him PBROC in person more often. Because some of those little subtle details where you want your teacher to really conduct you through in real time is something I'm not going to be able to do over Zoom. Because there's a slight delay. What is it round trip, would you say, Carl? It's probably about a second and a half round trip.
Yeah, but even if it's a half a second on the best of days, you can't direct.
Yep. It's quite tough. So some of that is definitely something that would be cool to do in person for sure.
Just remember, like if your sound's off and they fix this with Zoom, but remember with your TV when the sound isn't with the lips and you can notice like a very small difference. It's disturbing. Yeah, it just doesn't work with the delay.
Yeah, Diana, there's no tuning clinic planned in 2026. That could change if I get in the doghouse with my wife and the only way out of it is to take her out to a fancy dinner. We might have one. But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, 2026, we're just going to take a brief tuning clinic timeout. Yeah, which is good. Always leave them asking for more. And by the way, the other events often include a lot of tuning clinic based stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much about it. But okay. Yeah. By the way, Carl, what is life, man?
I don't know. Where
Now,
are we
this is
going
my
with this?
question. This is my question for the Q&A today. What is life, man?
It's
If
trial, error, and continual improvement.
and it's overcoming constraints to achieve certain ends, man. It's overcoming the constraints. The bagpipe itself is like a beautiful distillation of this, right? We got to get four instruments going simultaneously in some sort of organized way, but we only have 9 notes and things are getting wet all the time. Or if you put the canister in, they're too dry all the time. And the
Mm.
weather's always changing. But despite all that, we can make incredible music and incredible art despite these constraints, right?
Yeah. Or maybe because of these constraints,
That
it
and
makes
then
it more creative.
that was deep, man. That was deep.
Mhm.
I don't know what kind of baguettes they have over in France, but that was deep, man. Uh,
Gluten free, man. No, actually,
yeah,
they don't.
what? But yeah, you're right. Are we making art in spite of the constraints or in cooperation with the constraints? I don't really know. But then you could apply this to your lessons as well. So when you do a private lesson, they're great. And once you're in the room with the instructor, there's very few constraints, although still many constraints. I still can't beam my thoughts to you in perfect fidelity, can I? That's the constraint. That's always there. No matter what you do. I can't and even if I could, you wouldn't necessarily understand it if I could beam my thoughts. As a matter of fact, you might find them to be extremely disturbing. But like no one can beam thoughts. So there's those constraints that are always there. It's why inductive is a fallacy, right? You don't just derive things. You don't just derive things from the environment into knowledge. It's not how it works, right? But anyway, this is true. And then with your private lessons, there's far fewer constraints you might think than when we do things over Zoom. But the constraints are still there. And another big constraint would be the price. A private lesson is far higher. And then there's also the distance you might have to travel. There's also the friction
Time.
involved in there's also the friction involved in trying to get schedules to align in order to produce any kind of regularity. So those challenges are extremely quite cheap. And then, sorry, it's quite expensive. And then on the dojo side of things, there's just a different set of constraints. And it's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to weigh and measure the different types of those constraints. It's like saying what's better, bagpipes or drums. So both things have unique sets of constraints and unique sets of things that are much easier. For example, it's way easier to make sound come out of a drum than it is for sound to come out of a bagpipe. Like way easier.
But it's way harder to make it enjoyable. No.
And there you go. Yeah. And the constraints are far more on a drum
Mm.
than they are in the pipes. Even though it's tempting to wax poetical about how constrained the bagpipes are. Yeah. And then the constraints and what's the opposite of a constraint, Ben? Resident linguist? What's the antithesis of
We're missing our resident author. He's been slacking.
yeah, MQM would come up with something like really slightly annoying though. So
Liberty.
yeah,
I like that, Ben.
I
Good
like that.
try.
I like that. And what was the first word again? Oh yeah, constraints and liberties. Yeah. So that unique set of constraints and liberties combined with what you're trying to do is what's gonna result in what comes out.
Let's be real. It's a freedom. It's not a liberty. Constraints and freedoms.
So anyway, folks, there you go. What is life, man? What is it?
I don't know, but we should all get back to playing bagpipes and
Yeah,
we might figure out the life thing along the way.
with a whopping 8 votes, the people have been so busy wondering what is life that they've forgotten to vote on the freaking questions. So that's great. Okay. Pipersdojo.com/ADA, everybody. Anonymous says, for fun, my friend filled the bag. No, just kidding. For fun, I filled my bag with air. In brackets, volume. Okay. Hot shot. And applied arm pressure. Okay. And tried to hold arm steady to manometer. Keeping the volume steady was the problem. Okay, so let me try and decode this. So they filled the bag
Right.
with air and they applied pressure with the arm and tried to just keep their arm steady. And it was even just keeping their arm steady was quite difficult.
Yeah, keeping the volume of the bag steady is difficult. Yeah, I think I understand this, but you can't unlink pressure inside the bag from the volume of air inside the bag. Like they are dependent on each other. And yeah, as soon as you make a change to one, If it's not compensated on the other side, you're going to get a change in pressure or volume. So they're directly linked. So it's hard to isolate and test for one because it's not, yeah, it's not a, they're interdependent.
Sure. But my answer to that question is also would also be like yes. Yep, that's right. Just your ability to just try and keep something steady with your arm. That's part of it. Yeah.
Mm.
You also have to be able to blow at a steady rate as well when your arm's not really in use or in use minimally, right? So all of that plays into the category of physical steady blowing. We can't take that for granted. So that to isolate physical steady blowing mechanics would be to play one note and not wiggle your fingers. That's how we're going to isolate that. Okay. And then, but yeah, how do we break it down further? Geez, it's one of those things where you hope you don't have to go there, but maybe you do. But also, just at some point, you have to draw the line and just say, okay, I'm going to practice this thing. And it might just be not getting too in the weeds about how just your arm is unsteady. And that might be too far in the weeds,
Mm.
focusing too reductionist in approach and focusing on the higher level. We want to find the highest level where we can focus and still get the results, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's learning to have a steady pressure at the sweet spot. Sometimes, like it's worth getting nitty gritty, and sometimes it's worth just trying to be steady at the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And that's the focus, not the elements that make that possible, but just trying to be better at being steady at the sweet spot.
Yeah.
The end result is it's going to force you to figure out what is deficient in those lower areas. And then sometimes it's better to do the opposite. But
And the other thing too
both.
is so what this person seems to have is an explanation about why they're unsteady. Right? It's like,
Maybe.
oh, but that's what crosses my mind here. It's, oh, I've found the explanation why I'm not steady. Okay. And then I would just counter that and say, this is not necessarily a good explanation at all. It might be, but it might not be. For example, when you're blowing your bagpipes, how long do you need your arm to be steady? You only need it to be steady for 2, maybe 3 seconds, at which point your arm gets a break. And it might just be that nobody's arm can hold it steady for longer than a couple of seconds just because of the way things work. Certainly, if I'm picturing like going to the gym, if I picture like engaging a certain muscle and then keeping it engaged for a long period of time, that's extremely hard to do. Think about holding a plank, like holding a plank for 30 seconds. My whole body is convulsing. If we translate that to what would happen to my arm when you're basically trying to test for the same thing, yeah, like within 8 seconds, like everything starts shaking and you're, oh my God. And I think the explanation with the arm, I think that's, you just have to be careful jumping to conclusions when you do these sorts of tests, because it's possible that test has led you to a better explanation, but it's also possible that you're
It's
missing
misled you.
some other important factors. You want to mix and match different layers of abstraction there when you're trying to sort things out.
Remember, like with most things in the bagpipes, you can't effectively eliminate all but one variable. But good science depends on that. So if we can't eliminate all but one variable, we're not sure cause of an effect. We can guess, but we're not sure. And that's what we want to keep in mind there.
It's also impossible at the end of the day to bring anything down to one variable.
Exactly.
I don't really know what the quarks inside of the molecules are up to as I cork off my bag and get my bag air tightness down to one variable. So it's still
The quarks or
many.
the corks? Which ones
Well, the quarks,
which ones go in the drones?
I know what the quarks are doing, but I don't know what the quarks inside the quarks are doing.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. It's starting to get desperate here.
This is why we stopped doing the Insider podcast. Now, let's go for another question. What practice chanters and reads are played by dojo teachers? I don't think any of us have the same setup.
Yeah.
Like you've got a Maverick,
I also have this one.
which is what?
This is like the new It looks old, but it's new. It's the Stuart Little Duncan McRae practice chanter.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
fine. They're all fine.
They're
Yeah.
all fine and they're all deeply flawed and need adjustment.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like a Maverick. Carl, what do you got going on over there?
This is just the McCallum that I've had for years.
Yeah.
And I've just never been bothered to do anything else because it's okay. I don't love it. Like it's got tons of tape, but the time to change it is not been worth it. That's not a very satisfactory answer, and you're probably not going to get one. And whatever we do isn't going to be a direct translation to success for this person.
Yeah.
Just get a practice chanter and get a few extra reads, like 5 or 10. And you'll probably have way more success than trying to track down what we do exactly.
I feel like it's a really personal thing though, Carl. It's if you ask me what car I drive. It's yeah, I've got a Toyota Camry, but it's like it's mine. You know, it's my car. When my wife adjusts the seat, it really makes me mad. If she doesn't put it back and stuff like that. Now, nowadays, if I bought a new Camry, it would probably have those cool like adjusting seats that
Set
sets
one,
who's
set two,
driving
yeah.
it, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But okay, yeah, it's a Toyota Camry, but it's also not. So even if you ask me what chanter I play, it's like I've got a Maverick chanter on it, but like I've got a couple pieces of tape on some of the holes. And the chanter reed has got a certain kind of hemp on it that gets a certain kind of soggy when I play it too much. And it's got a little crack in the thing, but that's part of what gives it charm.
And this piece of tape has been unglued for 8 years, and I just haven't changed it
Just
because there's
haven't
no
changed
reason to.
it. And that's it. That's what it's all
It's what
about.
makes the sound.
Yep. So whatever practice chanter or reed combination you have, just love it
Yeah.
unconditionally. That's my advice.
I would say unconditionally. Make it sound
Yeah,
good.
condition love it conditionally. That's my advice.
Yeah.
All right, final question. I got no rhythm.
Oops.
Oh,
Oops.
and it's gone. Wow.
Sorry. How do we undo that?
I don't know. How do you undo it?
Restore last question. There's a button for that. There you go. Okay. We're good.
I got no rhythm and I practice every day on my practice chanter. I have some extra money. Should I get a real set of pipes now or wait?
Ooh.
Wow, this question scatters a lot of different things. The question is, if you have money, should you get a real set of pipes now or should you wait? They practice every day. So I think this is really a question about should they get a set of pipes? And
Right.
and the answer is not immediately obvious to me. What does it mean I got no rhythm?
It means you haven't yet taken a rhythm class, or you spent 3 years studying it and you still, pardon my language, suck at it.
Yeah.
Like rhythm is like anything, it's a learned skill. Given enough time and practice, you're going to get better at it and you're never going to be perfect. Back to the life question. But if it's just a matter of time, you'll learn rhythm.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking is, have you played any tunes successfully on the practice is one of my questions to this. And this person is anonymous. This is all the details we have, but I practice every day on my practice chanter. Cool. Are you practicing successfully? Have you achieved some practice chanter milestones? And here's why I ask. It would be a shame to get a brand new shiny set of pipes and to be able to do nothing on it because you haven't actually achieved anything on the practice chanter. Because and that could be for any reason. I got no rhythm seems like a bit of a alarm is going off in my mind. Is this like a fixed mindset type person that thinks they don't have any and they're never going to get any? And then you practice every day. Is this the type of person that thinks just practicing every day is going to be enough? At some point we need to actually, now I'm not saying with all the embellishments or anything, but at some point we got to get from the beginning to the end of Scott's What Hey in a somewhat musical way. Like we need to be able to do that. If you get a $2,000 set of pipes, but you don't have the willpower to like practice and develop and achieve some of these
Or the
goals,
desire. Yeah.
if you don't really have that, then I wouldn't. But what this person is saying is I do have it and I don't have any rhythm yet, but
Hmm.
I know I'm going to be able to because I love practicing every day and things are going really well, then absolutely, I agree. Let's get those pipes.
Yeah.
Sooner is better than later. But it's also one of those things like let's say you're dating someone and you're constantly fighting all the time, and you know how some people you see it a lot in the movies where they're obviously wrong for each other, but what do they decide to do?
Have a kid.
No, that or let's get married as the resolution to the big fight, right? It's like they just go to Vegas and they get married. And sometimes in the movies they like present this. It's a good idea. It's okay. So if you're constantly fighting with if your practice trainer is like your girlfriend right now and you're constantly fighting and you're not getting anywhere and you're really miserable, don't get married. However, if it's obviously great and you feel like a leap of faith is just the right thing for this relationship, then I would say head to Vegas with that extra money you got and get a real set of pipes. By the way, I don't think they sell pipes in Vegas. It's like the one thing they don't sell there.
And if they do, they're probably not good. Yeah, and we're adults at this point. If we decide we want to do something, we generally don't change our mind 3 weeks later. So get them. You can start learning some of the pipe skills, the instrument skills. Maybe that'll be inspiring.
Yeah.
Also, there's not going to be a huge change in price over the next few months. Maybe just hang on to it until you're sure. If you're not, if you are sure, get them. It really is individual.
Yeah, but just the question does give me a couple of slight alarm bells there. And so I would just want to talk to this person a little bit more. But it's nice to have achieved a couple of goals on the practice channel first. At the dojo, like the default thing we would do, Carl, is we would say, once you get to chapter 3, you should order your pipes.
Yep.
And then once you're like, but that means you've gotten successfully through chapter 2. Chapter 2 is we've played a few real bagpipe tunes with G grace notes. Like that means you're doing some stuff. By the way, that bar is way lower for the dojo than it might be for other instructors who they want you to have 10 tunes fully embellished before you get the pipes. I'm not for that. I think we want to get the pipes going sooner. We could practice blowing steadily with one drum while we're still working on the practice channel. Like that crossover period can be good and it can help you keep the momentum. For us, we would say once you get to chapter 3, that's a good time to get your pipes on order. But so we do want to have achieved a few things on the practice channel first.
Yeah.
I think. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's leave it there.